The argument started over something stupid. I'd left my reading glasses on the kitchen counter instead of putting them away in my room. But with Melissa, everything was an excuse to remind me of my place in her household. "This is exactly what I'm talking about," she said, waving the glasses in the air like evidence in a court case. "You treat this house like it's yours. Leaving your things everywhere, acting like you belong here." I was sitting at the kitchen table, finishing my cup of chamomile tea before bed. "I'm sorry, dear. I was reading my book after dinner and forgot to." "Forgot?" Melissa interrupted. "You always forget. Forget to clean up after yourself. Forget that this isn't your house anymore. Forget that you're only here because my husband felt sorry for you." My son David looked up from his laptop where he was working on some project for his accounting firm. "Mel, come on. It's just reading glasses." "It's not about the glasses, David. It's about respect. Your mother has been living here for 8 months, and she still acts like she owns the place." I'd moved in with David and Melissa after what they thought was a financial crisis following my husband's death. What they didn't know was that I'd been secretly liquidating assets and moving my wealth into offshore accounts and private investments. The crisis was carefully orchestrated to give me a reason to live with them temporarily while I evaluated Melissa's true character. 8 months of observation had shown me everything I needed to know. "I pay rent," I said quietly. "I contribute to groceries and utilities." Melissa laughed, that sharp, cruel sound she made when she thought she'd scored a point. "You pay $400 a month, Mom. Do you know what a one-bedroom apartment costs in this city? $1,200 minimum. You're getting charity and acting like you're doing us a favor." What Melissa didn't know was that the $400 monthly payment was actually going into an investment account I'd set up for David. Over 8 months, with interest and careful investments, it had grown to nearly $15,000. Money he would inherit someday, assuming his wife didn't completely poison our relationship first. "Maybe I should look for my own place," I said. "Maybe you should," Melissa snapped. "David keeps talking about how we need to help family, but honestly? You're 72 years old. How much help can you really need? Other people your age manage to live independently." David closed his laptop. "Melissa, that's enough." "No, it's not enough," she continued, warming to her theme. "I'm tired of tiptoeing around her feelings. Tired of pretending this arrangement is working. She's a burden, David. A financial and emotional burden that's preventing us from moving forward with our lives." I finished my tea and stood to put the cup in the dishwasher. "I understand I'm not welcome here." Finally, Melissa muttered. "I'll start looking for alternatives tomorrow," I said. "Good. Because honestly, Mom, this whole dependent elderly woman act is getting old. Some people your age are traveling the world, starting new businesses, living in luxury retirement communities. But you chose to move in with your son like some kind of helpless refugee." If only she knew about the luxury penthouse I owned downtown. The one I'd bought 6 months ago under my investment company's name. The one with the panoramic city views and the full-time concierge service. The one where I'd been planning to move once I'd finished my evaluation of Melissa's character. The evaluation was complete. "You're right," I said. "I should be more independent." That night, I was lying in bed in the small guest room when I heard David and Melissa arguing in their bedroom. The walls were thin, and Melissa's voice carried when she got emotional. "I can't take much more of this, David. She's always here, always watching, always making these little comments about how we do things." "She doesn't make comments," David protested. "She does. Like when I bought those shoes last week, she said they were very expensive looking." "That was a judgment, David. She was saying I spend too much money." The shoes in question had cost $800. I knew because I'd seen the credit card statement that David had left on the counter. $800 for shoes when they were supposedly struggling to afford their mortgage payments and car loans. "And when my mother calls," Melissa continued, "your mother always finds some excuse to be in the kitchen so she can eavesdrop. It's like living with a spy." I wasn't spying. I was simply observing how someone behaved when they thought they held all the power in a relationship. "I think you're being paranoid," David said. "I'm not paranoid. I'm stressed. I feel like I can't relax in my own home because she's always there, judging everything we do, making mental notes about our spending and our lifestyle choices." She was right about the mental notes. I had been keeping careful records of their behavior, their spending patterns, their treatment of me, and their conversations about my future. All documented in a private journal that would become very relevant very soon. Maybe we should set some boundaries, David suggested. I'll set a boundary right now, Melissa said. Tomorrow, I'm telling her she has 60 days to find her own place. I'm done pretending this is temporary. Around 2 a.m., I got up to get a glass of water. My arthritis had been acting up, and the pain was keeping me awake. I padded quietly down the hallway in my nightgown and slippers, trying not to wake anyone. I was coming back from the kitchen when I heard Melissa's voice behind me. Where do you think you're going? I turned around. She was standing in the hallway in her robe, arms crossed, looking like a security guard who'd caught an intruder. I was getting water, I said, holding up the glass. At 2 a.m.? Really? I couldn't sleep. My arthritis. Your arthritis, your medications, your problems, Melissa said. I'm sick of hearing about your problems. She walked past me to the front door and turned the deadbolt. Then she walked to the back door and did the same thing. What are you doing? I asked. Making a point, she said. About boundaries. About respect. About who actually lives here and who's just a guest overstaying their welcome. She held up the house keys. Find somewhere else to sleep, burden. I'm tired of sharing my space with someone who doesn't appreciate what they have. I stared at her. Melissa, it's 2 a.m. I'm in my nightgown. Should have thought of that before wandering around my house in the middle of the night like you own the place. I was getting water. You were being disruptive. Making noise. Waking up the people who actually pay for this house. She opened the front door and gestured toward the street. Out. I stood on the front porch in my nightgown and slippers at 2:15 a.m., watching Melissa turn off the porch light from inside. Across the street, I could see Mrs. Henderson's bedroom light come on. She was peering through her curtains, probably wondering why an elderly woman was standing outside in her nightclothes. I pulled out my phone and called the cab company I'd used before. Golden Cab? I need a pickup at 1247 Oak Street. Going downtown to the Meridian Tower. Are you sure about the address? The Meridian Tower? That's a pretty exclusive building. Penthouse level, I said. I'll meet you at the corner. While I waited, I sent a quick text to my property manager. We'll be staying at the penthouse tonight. Please ensure concierge staff are notified. The cab arrived within 10 minutes. The driver, a middle-aged man named Frank according to his license, looked concerned when he saw me. Are you all right? Do you need me to call someone? I'm fine, I said, settling into the back seat. Just a family disagreement that needed some fresh air to resolve. As we drove downtown, I made another call, to my lawyer's emergency line. Patricia? It's Margaret. I need you to initiate the property transfer paperwork first thing in the morning. Yes, all of it. The house, the cars, everything. I want it completed by noon. The Meridian Tower rose 43 stories above the city center, its glass facade reflecting the early morning lights. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor, 4,000 square feet of marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, and custom furnishings that had cost more than most people's houses. Good morning, Mrs. Westfield, the concierge said as I walked through the lobby in my nightgown. Shall I have coffee sent up? Please. And contact my assistant. Tell her I'll need a full wardrobe delivered by 9 a.m. Business attire and casual clothes. I rode the private elevator to my penthouse and walked to the wall of windows overlooking the city. Somewhere out there, David was probably discovering that his wife had locked his mother out of the house in the middle of the night. My phone rang at 3:30 a.m. Mom? Mom, where are you? I woke up and Melissa told me, she said you left. I was asked to leave, I said calmly. Your wife felt I was being disruptive by getting a glass of water at 2 a.m. That's insane. Come home right now. I'm so sorry. Melissa's stress about work has been. David, I'm not coming back. What do you mean? Mom, where are you? I sent him a photo, the view from my penthouse windows, showing the city spread out 43 floors below. Oh my God, David whispered. Where are you? I'm home, I said simply. At 6 a.m., I called my investment broker. Initiate the housing market transfers. I want David's mortgage paid off by noon, but I want the deed transferred to my holding company. Full legal ownership. At 7 a.m., I called the luxury car dealership where David and Melissa leased their vehicles. This is Margaret Westfield. I'm purchasing both vehicles currently leased by David and Melissa Walsh. Full payment, immediate ownership transfer to Westfield Holdings. At 8 a.m., my assistant arrived with clothes. At 8:30, my lawyer arrived with documents. At 9 a.m., I was dressed in a $3,000 business suit, sitting at my marble dining table, signing papers that would change my family's understanding of everything. David called again at 10 a.m. Mom, I've been worried sick. Melissa feels terrible about last night. She wants to apologize. Please come home so we can work this out. I am home, I said, looking out at the city view. And I have some news to share with you and Melissa. What kind of news? The kind that's better delivered in person. I'll be at your house at noon. I arrived in my chauffeur-driven Bentley, the one I kept at the penthouse garage. David and Melissa were waiting on the front porch, both looking confused and worried. Mom, David said, staring at my outfit and the car, what's going on? Hello, Melissa, I said as I walked up the front steps. I trust you slept well after our conversation last night. Melissa looked like she wanted to disappear. Mrs. Walsh, I am so sorry about last night. I was stressed and I said things I didn't mean. Oh, you meant them, I said. And you were right about several things. I was being a burden. I was overstaying my welcome. And I was preventing you from moving forward with your lives. I pulled out a folder of documents. So I took care of all those problems. David opened the folder and started reading. His face went white. Mom, this says you paid off our mortgage. I did. But it also says the house is owned by Westfield Holdings. That's my investment company, I said. I bought your house this morning, paid off your entire mortgage and purchased the property outright. Melissa grabbed the papers. What does this mean? It means, I said, that you no longer have a mortgage payment. It also means you no longer own your house. I pulled out another set of documents. I also purchased your car leases. Both vehicles now belong to me. David was frantically reading through papers. Mom, how is this possible? How do you have this kind of money? The same way I've had money for the past 8 months, David. I'm worth approximately $47 million. The silence that followed was deafening. $47 million. Melissa whispered. The crisis that brought me to live with you was manufactured, I explained. I wanted to observe how my family would treat someone they perceived as financially dependent. I wanted to see who you really were when you thought you held all the power. I looked directly at Melissa. Last night, you showed me exactly who you are. But the rent payments, David said. The grocery contributions. Were investments in a fund that now has about $15,000 in it, I said. Money that would have been yours eventually. I pulled out one final document. This is a lease agreement. You can continue living in this house for $3,200 per month, fair market rent for a property this size. Or you can move out within 30 days. Melissa was crying. Mrs. Walsh, please. I made a mistake. I was stressed and tired and I said terrible things. Please don't punish David for my stupidity. I'm not punishing David, I said. I'm teaching both of you that actions have consequences. You treated me like garbage when you thought I was powerless. Now you'll learn what it feels like to actually be powerless. I walked back to my car. You have until Friday to decide about the lease. The cars will be picked up this afternoon. I'm donating them to charity. As my chauffeur drove me away, I could see David and Melissa standing in the driveway, holding papers that proved everything they thought they knew about their lives was wrong. That evening, I sat in my penthouse, wearing my comfortable nightgown, the same one I'd been wearing when Melissa locked me out. The city sparkled below me, and I felt something I hadn't felt in months: peace. Sometimes the most expensive lessons are the ones people need to learn most. And sometimes, the burden they are so eager to discard turns out to be the foundation their entire world was built on. My phone buzzed with a text from David. Mom, please call me. We need to talk. I would call him tomorrow. Tonight, I was enjoying the view from the top.